Hello lovely people, Vlogtober day 30. Look at those beautiful fall leaves. I tried to arrange a get-together with my friends today. One by one they dropped out, except for one, so we decided to postpone it till this time next week. So I guess my family gets to enjoy the cake, and I get to enjoy the pot of coffee I just made, or at least half of it anyway. I might leave the rest of it for one of the others. And I need to put my plates and cups away and my teapot because they're not needed now. I'm a little disappointed. This is pretty par for the course, so I need to plan what to do for the rest of my day, which is completely open. Wow. Exciting times. Well, that was kind of amusing. After I did that little intro, a friend of mine showed up at the door. Oh, I had to put some, do I have a shiny face? I had to put some Metro gel on because I had a little bit of a flare up of the rosacea. Just one little pimple. I like to put the Metro gel on, which is a prescription rosacea thing, at the first sign of it, so it doesn't get any worse. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So after I postponed, one of my friends showed up at the door because she hadn't seen the final messages. But she only had half an hour, so luckily I had poured myself a coffee, but there was still half of a French press left, so I gave her a quick drink, we had a quick chat, and then she ran off again. But hey, that was a nice little bonus there that I wasn't expecting. So now I'm in my sewing room because I have missed this room lately. I can't remember the last time I sewed something. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to just tidy the table a little bit. The room's in pretty good shape. There's a couple of unfinished things. There's like that t-shirt yarn that I started cutting from old t-shirts piled up in the corner of that desk. And there's a lot of clutter here. This is one of the boxy bags or dot kits that I made and put on the market stall in the summer. It's looking a little crumpled up now because I actually used it to go to visit the family a couple of weeks ago. And I noticed after I had washed it that there's a little tiny hole in the lining. So right here, I didn't catch all the layers when I closed up the lining. So I'm glad nobody bought it, because now that I know that hole's there, I can fix it. So that'll be my first thing to do. And then I think what I'm going to do is, once I've tidied up a little bit, I'm going to see whether I have any Halloween fabrics that I want to make something small with. And then I might even go through my Christmas cottons and maybe consider a wall hanging, like a small quilt maybe. Because at the moment in my dining room, I've got a very harvesty looking wall quilt up there with the little good gardening tools hanging off the bottom, which I absolutely love. But of course, we're going into winter now, and I might want something a bit more seasonal to put on the wall. I did have a snowman quilt that I had made from a panel for work. Probably a couple of years ago now. But I sold that at the market. I sold it for like $10. The lady who bought it was gobsmacked that I was selling it so cheap, and I said, well, I didn't pay for the fabric. So yeah, thought it was time to clear it out. And maybe it's time to make a fresh wall hanging for my dining room. Anyway, let's get on with some cleanup. Now this is a really fun fabric because it's actually glow in the dark. So these pieces, or bits of the pattern, the pumpkins, jack-o'-lantern faces, I think the cat's eyes and ears as well. If you've had artificial light on there and then you turn the lights out, they glow rather nicely. It'll be fun to make something out of that today. I fixed my little dot kit and now I have decided to make a small tote or treat bag with a Halloween theme out of that piece of orange cat fabric. Just going to get my iron heating up because I need to do some folding and pressing. I'm just going to use my little pressing mat on the side here rather than unfold the ironing board again. So what I forgot to say before, while I was drinking my coffee earlier, I popped the TV on and I checked out a couple of things on YouTube, and I watched Ali of Little Drops of Wonderful, her, I think it was day 28, Vlogtober. I haven't seen enough of hers. The month has gone by far too fast, and I also found an absolutely gorgeous shawl pattern that Hooked by Robin is doing. Robin is an amazing crochet tutorial maker, and the one that came out today is this granny shawl. It's a triangle shawl that's half granny stitch and half granny squares, but with triangles to make the edge smooth. And I'll definitely link that one below because it's absolutely lovely. The interesting thing is she's used Karen swirl cakes in it, and Michael sell those. Not that you have to use that, but it's definitely something I'd like to make. So what I've done is I've saved my video for later. Do you know how long it took me to realize that on YouTube you can save things to your own personal playlists? It took a long time. And you can categorize everything. So I've got playlists for crochet, for knitting, for crafting, for cooking. There's a whole ton of categories in there. And it's great because then you can think, I know I saw this great video once for something, and I thought I saved it. And then you go back and you look in your profile and you find it. And it's a lovely feeling that you didn't lose it. So Hooked by Robin, definitely check out her channel if you're into crochet. Okay, it helps to actually switch the oven, not switch the oven on, Nicola. Turn up the iron to max for my cotton. So I'm not going to look up a tutorial for this. I've just cut a couple of rectangles, about 12 3/4 wide by 15 tall, because that's the maximum I could get out of my scrap. And a couple of strips for handles of 15 inches by about 2 3/4, because I had a 5.5 inch wide piece. And so I just cut it down the middle. I should probably change the needle in my machine. I don't know whether that Microtex needle has hit its limit, but it's been in there quite some time and I've done quite a bit of sewing with it. So I think what I'll do is I'll switch it out for a universal. There it goes onto the floor. I think we'll say goodbye to that one. If you don't have one of these, I do recommend it. This end is for threading the needle, and this end is for holding the needle in place while you screw it into the machine. Very handy. I think it's just a Dritz thing, so it's probably quite widely available. You just pop the needle in like that with the flat side facing away from you. Put it into its little hole. That's always the challenge, isn't it? Finding the right spot for that. I don't always bother with using the threading end of it. In theory, I have a needle threader on this machine, but I've never been super satisfied with it. Oh, look at that. I should have used the doohickey in the first place. And there it goes onto the floor again. Well, that was painful. That's what happens when you have 62-year-old eyes. Okay, let's do a little bit of pressing. Okay, 2 handles done. Now I can sew down both sides of those. Little trick, if you don't want them to twist, is to sew them all from the same direction, not turn it around and go back the other way. So I'll make sure to do that. I'm sure you know what an earworm is, right? I have had an earworm, Miley Cyrus's flowers, for weeks. It started to annoy my husband that I was humming it, and I'm annoying myself now because I cannot get rid of it. I did consider making this into a strawberry bag with that little thing on the corner that you could stuff it into, like I did with those ones I made recently. And I thought, no, I'm just going to make a basic little tote bag. I'll use less fabric too. I'm not going to line it, but I will do French seams, if I remember. And I might box the bottoms as well, maybe. Although I didn't allow enough depth to do much in the way of boxing. We'll see. Okay, let's put the handles on first. Just going to decide where they go by just dividing this into 4. I'm going to iron that crease in because I didn't iron this very well to start with. And now I can't tell which crease is an accidental one and which crease is a handle one. Oh, that's better. Oh boy. Now when you make these handles, there's like an edge which is open and an edge which is a fold. I like to put the open one inwards. So I've decided what to do for my Halloween outfit. Yesterday my friend gave me this sexy little Santa dress, which I could wear as a top. And I thought that would be kind of fun to be a Santa for Halloween, maybe a zombie Santa or something. But rather than do that, I'm digging out the witch hat that I've worn in previous years. And I've got a sort of over vest that is cats and moons. And I'm going to wear that with a black skirt, t-shirt underneath, and that's super easy. And I just put that on the wrong way round. Expletive, insert expletive here. You know what? I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to do it the same on this side. That just shows what happens when you're not paying attention. Yes. I may regret this decision, but I want to wear my tall black boots with it. They've got a flat heel, but they come up nice and high on the calf. And what I am hoping is that my feet can manage to be comfortable in them for my shift. It's an afternoon shift. I don't think it'll be too bad. I'm doing the top edge of this bag the same way that Christine did her strawberry bag. Based on the handle, then do a double hem, and then the handle is down, and then when you sew, you fold it up like that, and it's really easy. and quick. So yeah, the one challenge with tomorrow and wearing an outfit, a funky outfit, is that I do have an acupuncture appointment before my shift. You can see where this is going, right? So the interesting thing will be, at what point do I put on the outfit and do the makeup? I'm not very good at makeup. I'm just going to use what I have, and it's just regular makeup. It's not face paint. But I'm just going to go with lashings of purple eyeshadow and mascara, probably. Some lipstick. So I think what I've decided to do is wear the outfit from home, because tons of people will be dressed up for Halloween tomorrow and it won't be odd. It'll be fun. But after I leave the acupuncturist, I could drive to work and do my makeup in the car in the parking lot before I go in the store. I think that's probably the best idea. I just had a really good idea. If I have time tomorrow, I could stop somewhere that sells candy. Oh, I wonder if I'd have time to stop at Bulk Barn. I don't know if where you live, you have a bulk food shop, but there are two main ones in this town. And one is mostly basic foods, beans, lentils, flour, rice, that sort of thing, with maybe a tiny amount of candy. But Bulk Barn is probably at least 50% candy. At this time of the year, probably 75% candy. There's got to be some animal-free candy in there somewhere that I could maybe put in this bag and take to work to share with my co-workers. I didn't measure that double hem at the top, and it's probably not exactly even compared with the other side, but it'll all come out in the wash, as they say. But there's my handles on. I may have put them a little wide because when I hold it, yeah, doesn't matter. I'm just happy to be at my sewing machine. Okay, French seams, Nicola, wrong sides together. Nearly did that wrong. Yep, I'm definitely in my happy place here. No other commitments until later on this afternoon. A nice view of a cloudy sky and an absolutely beautiful maple tree, which is turning, changing its outfit for fall. Yep. Somebody else yesterday, it was yesterday, my acupuncturist, he said, I love this time of year. And I was like, yes, me too. My favorite season. So here's where we find out whether I got everything matched up well. Yeah, it's a teeny bit off there, but hardly anything. This is the slapdash part, folks. What would this channel be without some slapdash sewing? There we are, wrong sides together. And unlike that synthetic fabric I was using a couple of weeks ago, this isn't too bad for fraying, so the French seam should work out quite nicely. I'm going to do a little trim of that with my rotary cutter to get rid of some of that seam allowance and some loose threads. Now I have to turn it the other way around. This is the trick with this, getting it all turned out properly so that you don't have any pleats when you do the next seam. Moment of truth as we turn it right side out. And then I'll see if I like the proportions. I didn't really think about adding anything for seam allowances because, of course, I had a limited amount of fabric. Looks good. Amazing. So let's see. I wonder if that needs a boxy bottom. Actually quite a nice size, isn't it? If I do a box bottom, it'll take some out. Let's see. No, I kind of like it. If I was to do a box bottom on this, what I would do is I would do it wrong sides together across that corner first. So I would sew it this side, this way. And then once I turned it around the other way, I would sew it from the other side. And then I'd have a French seam as a boxy bottom as well. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give it another press because it still looks creased, even though I have ironed this multiple times. I really like that. I love this fabric. I'm not usually into specialty fabric for certain holidays, especially with such a short-lived thing as Halloween. But I really like that. That could hold quite a bit. Ooh, that was a nice little instant gratification sewing project. Now we're going to have a little look at my little pile of Christmassy things. I have this really cute tin. Can you see that? I've got you zoomed in a bit, so I have to remember not to be too wide with my gestures. I've got my little hot cocoa tin. Do something with that this year. Got some gift tags and oh, this is one of these notebooks that I bought for going with the pen holders. Oh, and here is one that I made last year. So I sold a few of these. Well, not as many as I would have liked at the market in the summer. You can fit 2 pens in here. This is a Christine's Home Affairs tutorial as well. It wraps around a journal or something and you put 2 pens in it. And that fabric is adorable. So I basically have an impromptu gift ready to go in case I need one right there. A couple of cards. I don't really do Christmas cards, but nice to have a couple handy just in case. Oh, a couple of new pens. A couple of new pens which can go in the pen thing. I gave these to my friends last year at Christmas time. A yellow pen is probably not the most practical, is it? And it doesn't really scream Christmas. Black and yellow would be more of a Halloween thing, maybe. Haha! Maybe I should make a pen pouch out of the Halloween fabric. Those are just Wool Warehouse organza bags. Put those aside for a minute. Oh, a little dangly ornament. I made a few of those a couple of years ago. Some years while I was at Fabricland, I would make an effort to make gifts for all the staff. I don't know if they were always appreciated. Some people were a bit ambivalent, it seemed. But anyway, let's have a drool over Christmas fabric, shall we? Fun gnomes. Koalas and hedgehogs with winter hats on. Oh, so fun. Ah. Red trucks and campers. Now that screams Christmas quilt to me. I think that might be it. And I have this one, which also coordinates with that, I think. It just says fresh pine trees. So that is very cool. And then I have this one, which is classic looking. Grey houses, a snow scene, a little bit of green in the trees. I don't know if that would coordinate with those two though. Probably not. So we'll leave that in this pile. Ha! Wiener dogs. Now the nice thing about this dog fabric, and also these two, is that they feel almost like a canvas. They're a little heavier. Got the holly and the words. And yeah, they're lovely feeling. You know, those would make a lovely cushion cover for Christmas, but I'm not sure if I'm into the idea of cushion covers. Then we've got some lovely sort of Scandi things with natural background and green snowflakes. And actually, because of that nice sort of natural coloured background, these would probably coordinate with these as well. And then I have green dot in that Scandi stuff, and then red dot, and the snowflake in the red. I'm not sure if I'm doing this very well because I'm having to like look behind the tripod every time to make sure I'm in the frame. And then for the sort of brighter things, I've got these two dotty ones which coordinate. And here's the cute robin one and a gnome one. Plus a bunch of scraps. Can't remember what I made with these last year. Obviously cut into them. And then we've got some candy canes, some green trees, some red trees. I think I have a metre of each of those. I think I definitely need to give that some thought. That would be lovely. Little bit of gold leaves. Another gnome one. Ah, you've seen this gnome fabric before. This bag that I showed you the other day with the cross stitch kit in it. That fabric. And then we've got this non-traditional stuff, which is the panel I made the quilt from that I mentioned to you earlier, the winter quilt. It's got snowmen and penguins and multicolored snowflakes, more multicolored snowflakes, and more penguins. Oh, this one's gorgeous. I knew I had to buy some of this when it came into the store. Look at those cats. Aren't they lovely? Christmas cats. Unique fabric. Never seen anything like that anywhere else. Traditional red flowery stuff. Christmas tree lights. There's a bunch of scraps here. You can't really see the pattern from the original fabric very well on those. A little bit of one that looks like knitted fabric that I had to buy because it looked like knitted fabric. And then I've got some green with gold leaves. Oh, yes, Snoopy. I'd forgotten about this one. The trouble when your stash is in boxes all the time. Christmas, or rather winter Snoopy. It says Happy Holidays, but winter Snoopy, I think. Ice skating Snoopy. So adorable. A lot more little scraps. Probably not much use. These days I don't keep really tiny scraps, or I cut them into uniform shapes to make it easier for using them later. Now this was a cool one as well. This fabric. I made labels, gift labels out of this one year. Very pretty. There's quite a lot of that. That would make good gift bags if I wanted to sew some. And yeah, the rest is just rather crappy looking things. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that all over again and weed out some of the unusable scraps, because it's just ridiculous what I've kept in there. But I'm going to stop filming, or this vlog is going to get far too long. After that lovely little session in my sewing room, I came upstairs and I had some lunch and did some editing, and I got dinner ready early. And as I was making dough for the stromboli for dinner, I thought I might as well make a triple quantity and make a couple of loaves of bread at the same time. They look really good. In fact, I think I heard a young man hacking at one of the loaves of bread while I was in here crocheting a little bit earlier. Everyone likes the homemade bread. I don't tend to make it that often these days, but I really should. It's got way less stuff in it than commercial bread, and it's way less expensive when you make it yourself as well. You know exactly what goes into it when you make it yourself from scratch. After dinner, Mr. Stitches and I went for a walk, and we did a sort of double loop. We were on our way back, having gone past the Halloween house, which is in our neighbourhood. They go nuts every year. They must spend thousands on Halloween lights and decorations and things. We hadn't done enough steps, so we basically diverted and we went up a hill and round a different loop, and made it to over 7,000 steps for today, so that's good. And then I sat down with my crochet, and I have to tell you, the crochet has been kicking my butt tonight. I have been working on the Technicolor Dream Coat again, and the hood is growing even more. It's getting really long, but oh man, it's been driving me crazy. So we got to a little more complicated bits here. I even brought my ring light up because it's a bit dim in here in the evenings, and I wanted you to be able to see this properly, because, you know, I want to whine about it. No, that's not why I brought the light up. It's just dim, and I think things look better when they're properly lit. Anyway, look at this tiny little tail here. I never leave tails that short. But that was one of the symptoms of results of my struggles. So it's all going fairly well up to here, apart from the fact that I struggled to fit the bobbles into this section that I was supposed to, so I abandoned them. And then everything along here was going fairly swimmingly until I got to here. So there's a couple of short rows in here where the red is. And then you do the lavender. And then you're supposed to do this weird thing with some wavy shells, which is the orange section here. Now, the wavy shell section is really badly written. You're supposed to have a certain amount of stitches. I think it was 44 in this row here. And there was absolutely no way that the instructions for this shell row could be completed properly with the correct amount of stitches. And in fact, I went and looked at other projects on Ravelry to see if anyone had left notes. And I looked at the comments on the pattern page, and someone had said they also had struggled with this. And I thought, oh, glad it's not just me. So after a lot of head scratching and headaches, I have basically had to figure it out for myself. She said at the end of this orange row, I was supposed to have 5 shells, but actually she only had 4.5 because her last shell only had 4 stitches in, not 7. So I made it so that I had 5 complete shells in the orange. And then instead of doing whatever she did for the subsequent row, which is my first teal row there, I ended up doing something completely different where I was doing double crochets into the single crochets, obviously to make them taller, and then some half doubles and then some singles here because they're smaller stitches. And so ultimately I wanted to smooth out this waviness by adjusting the height of the stitches in the next row. And then I did 2 increase rows after that because there are 3 increases in each of these 2 rows, because I needed to get as close as possible to, I think it was 54 stitches, and I ended up with 53, which is as good as it's going to get, damn it. I think Mr. Stitches must have been doing his best to tune me out tonight as I'm trying to think aloud and work it out and grumble about it. Another interesting thing, so when you download the pattern from Ravelry, or when you buy the pattern via Ravelry and it puts the files into your library, you get 4 files. And there's a part 1, a part 2, a printable part 1, and a printable part 2. I downloaded the basic ones, which I assumed had full color, all the pictures and everything, because I was just looking at it on my screen. I wasn't planning to print it out. Far too many pages to print out. And for some reason, I wasn't seeing many photographs in the what was supposed to be a photo tutorial for this hood. And so I thought that was odd, because there would be a line of instructions and then a massive white space where there should have been, as far as I know, a picture. So after struggling through this, and there only being a few pictures, I went and I downloaded the printable version. And it's not a printable version at all. It's the one with all the photographs in it. Another pet peeve, or another peeve, I should say, about this pattern is that in the photos for this whole section here, she starts using faux fur yarn. Why is she doing instructions in faux fur yarn? Because you can't see her stitches. You can barely see what she's doing. I'm not impressed. I've left notes on my Ravelry page so that other people can see, if they look at it, that I had issues and I fixed them in a certain way. And I also left a comment on the pattern page where I very respectfully suggested she get this pattern tech edited. It's been out since March 2020. Any issues should have been ironed out by now, and there's far too many typos and ambiguities in it. It's driving me bloody crazy. Anyway, the next stage is, I think I'm going to be working along here. I'm going to be working along this edge next, and then turning the corner and going up and around and along. So it's certainly a weird shaped thing, and I wouldn't want to do it without photos because, yeah, I wouldn't know what the heck I was doing. It's enough of a challenge as it is. So I'm well fed up with this tonight. I'm not doing any more on it. It is 9:30, so, you know, I'm getting a little tired. And we're going to say goodnight to that. It's Halloween tomorrow. I have my outfit planned. It's put aside and ready to wear tomorrow. Kind of looking forward to it. Should be fun to dress up for the day. So I'll see you tomorrow for the last day of Vlogtober. And thanks for coming along for the ride. Bye for now.